All right, all right. I want to talk to you guys about why I am super stoked for Cam Ward to be with the Tennessee Titans. As a Titans fan myself, I could not be any happier right now. I want to break down the person, the player, and then also talk about what he means for the Titans and what he can be. And also at the end, set some realistic expectations for Cam Ward and not let our excitement get too ahead of ourselves. But let's break down why I'm excited for Cameron Ward, the quarterback out of Miami. Starting with the person, going right into it here. His story from a zero-star recruit to first overall pick is a really cool story. I'm not going to share the whole thing. It's been pretty much talked about ad nauseum for good reason at this point. But it is something to note. It is something that is notable because he is the first zero-star recruit to ever be picked first overall in the NFL draft, which is a massive accomplishment and also a testament to how hard he worked to get from where he started to where he is now. But going into some of his past a little bit, maybe a little bit more into the personal life stuff, Cameron Ward grew up in West Columbia, Texas. Most people probably can't even find that place on a map. You guys are seeing it right now, actually. It's just south of San Antonio. But he didn't come from a big football area. It's not a big football area at all. Not a big high school, right? He was running the wing T offense when he was in high school, which for those of you that don't know what the wing T offense is, it's very ancient. If in terms of the NFL's history of offensive development over the decades, it is ancient. I would highly advise you go look it up because no wonder why he was a zero-star recruit, because he was only throwing 10 to 12 passes an entire game, where high school quarterbacks now, they'll throw 20 to 30 per game now. So it's the production obviously is not there. I mean, it's a very run-heavy offense. Well, that should give you some perspective as to why he was a zero-star recruit coming out of a small high school running the wing T offense. But anyways, it's not just the football and the sports where everything wasn't big, right? He didn't have D1 parents. He didn't have, I don't think he has any college siblings, or not, maybe not siblings, but maybe not like family members. Maybe he does. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But the thing is, his parents were not college athletes. They're not D1 parents, right? They're just not hard loving. They were loving, supporting, hard-working parents, excuse me. And it gives you a perspective on life that translates well to football, because growing up in a situation like Cam's, he was raised on values like being humble, being a hard worker, being driven, focused. And the thing is, when he wasn't in the classroom or taking on other important obligations, he spent almost his entire free time on football. You can hear in interviews of his dad talking about how often he would have to drive him to football camps, how often he would just go outside and throw with him. He was there with Cam Ward, witnessing how hard he was working and all the effort and drive he was putting into football every single day. And the thing is, that tells me Cam Ward really loves football. Now, obviously, you can tell when a player loves or doesn't love football, right? But at the same time, for Cam Ward, he truly loves the game because he loves the game. Some people, they'll grow up in athletic families, right? D1 college, D1 family members, right? Or they'll grow up with someone with a lot of money, or they'll go to a big school. Like in Florida, the biggest school for football is IMG Academy. So they'll go to one of these big schools. And he didn't have any of that. He went to a small school and an offense that really did not help him at all. And he grew up with just traditional, hardworking, loving parents. And in turn, he loves football for football. Truly, and that's the coolest part, is that there's no external influence to make him be around football, to want to be around football, right? In that type of way, where no, he is in it for football. There's no if or ands or buts about it. And I think this is the best part about him, is because it comes off, he's a genuine person. Everything he does comes off as genuine, and all the values that he grew up with in the situation that he had, to me, is a perfect spot in terms of quarterback and what you need out of that position. And it's not just all the values that he learned, right? How I view Cam Ward as humble, hard worker, driven, focused, but he's also very self-aware, someone that really understands where he is right now as a person, where he needs to get better, and the steps that he needs to take to actually get to that point. And it takes a lot. right? In order if you want to get somewhere in life, you have to be very self-aware of where you are and what you want to be, where you want to go. And he has that self-awareness, which really helps him out into getting where he is. And you don't get to where Cam Ward is from 0 star to first overall pick without having the self-awareness of knowing where you are and what you need to do to get better. Now I want to jump into another character aspect, which is his leadership. And this goes beyond just the person that he is. It does to a certain extent. I mean, leadership is built off of your core values as a person, but Cam Ward is a proven leader. And you hear coaches and teammates at every school he's been to, from Incarnate Ward to Washington State to the University of Miami. Every player and coach that people have asked about Cam Ward and said, who is this guy as a person? They have raved about this guy all the time. You don't hear a single bad thing about Cam Ward from players and coaches. That says a lot. That says a whole lot. And there's a story that was told. I don't remember who said it, but it was a coach in Miami and someone else, like one of the big podcasters out there, retold this story. But this coach talked about how Cam Ward, after only a few days of being at the University of Miami and being in the building, he was already talking in front of the team, and everyone was sitting there eating it up and listening to him. And again, that says a lot. Could you imagine being someone where you are going into a completely new environment? Not just a completely new environment. You're literally going from Washington State all the way to Miami, Florida. I mean, those two colleges and universities, they cannot be any further apart from one another. So to go all the way across the country in a place you've never been with people you have no connection with whatsoever, and within a few days, you're already viewed highly enough to where you can stand in front of everybody. All of these people, probably complete strangers for the most part to him, and he is talking to them and they are listening to him speak. Wow. If that is not a leader, I don't know what is. And it's not just the leadership of him demanding respect, right, and working really hard. He cares a lot about his teammates, which is another reason why he has a great leadership. In his first interview with the Tennessee Titans when he got drafted, when asked what the hardest thing adjusting to the NFL would be for him, he said learning his new teammates' names without missing a beat. That's awesome stuff. And not to mention, with caring about his teammates, another story that he wanted to throw at the NFL Combine, but he didn't. He chose to wait and stay for his pro day so he would have more exposure. But not that he would have more exposure, that his teammates that he was throwing to at his pro day could get more exposure. Because at the Combine, you're competing with a bunch of different people from everywhere, from all different schools. But in your pro day, you are working out at your university. So the coaches, the scouts, are probably paying more attention to you more than they are a whole group of other people. So Cam Ward doing that and in turn giving his teammates more exposure to NFL coaches and scouts, that shows a lot. That shows a lot that not only does he demand respect, someone who is respected, but someone who truly cares not just about himself and his game, but cares about giving everybody else the opportunities that they need to do what they need to do to step up in their career. That's really cool. That's someone who has not just self-awareness, but awareness of everybody else around him. And for a quarterback, that's a really great trait to have. And as much as he cares about his teammates, he holds them accountable as well. Michael Irvin told a story that I can't remember when he told it, but told a story of Cam Ward when he was at Miami. He was going to throw with some of his receivers at some point in time, and one of the receivers was missing, and Cam Ward called him up. And this receiver was in Fort Lauderdale, which is not far from Miami. It's a little bit north. Anyways, that receiver was catching passes from Lamar Jackson, the Ravens quarterback, and Cam Ward straight up told him, according to Michael Irvin, this is the quote that Cam said on the phone to this receiver: "You are not catching passes from Lamar this year. And if you don't get back here, you aren't catching passes this year here either," and hung up the phone. Okay. And you know what happened? That receiver packed his bags and drove his butt back to the University of Miami to work out with Cam Ward and the rest of the receivers. That is demanding respect. That's demanding accountability. That is a leader right there. And the one thing to me that really summarizes everything and encapsulates everything about Cam Ward, his personality, how hard he works, and how much he expects out of everybody else around him. He pushes himself, he holds people accountable as hard as he pushes other people. If that makes sense. So the thing is, when you're working really hard, if you're one of the hardest workers, you can push other people. In a team setting and a team effort, when everyone's trying to work towards one goal, if you're one of the hardest workers, you've earned the right to kind of push other people, right? And shove them, maybe not shove them, but kind of either give them like a little nudge, or sometimes if they're being stupid or they're not living up to expectations or they're really not pulling their weight, then you have the opportunity to say, hey, get your butt up and start working harder. He has the right to say that. And the thing is, because you work really hard, people see that and they will follow you. They believe in you and they trust you and they respect you because you truly care. You are putting more work than anybody else. And in leadership, that's how that works. You can only push people as hard as you work. If you're if you're like a middling worker or you're not a good worker at all and you try to hold people accountable, they're not going to listen to you. They're absolutely not going to listen to you because, like, why am I going to listen to this guy when he barely pulls his own weight? And not to mention with Cam Ward, someone who does work the hardest or one of the hardest workers, he's putting in all this effort and he sees his teammate throwing passes or catching passes from Lamar Jackson. Like, no, we got to work on us now and get good this year together with us. You're not catching passes from Lamar. Get your butt up here. And guess what? That receiver packed his bags and went to Miami to throw with Cam Ward and the rest of his receivers. That's what happens when you have a great leader. A great leader will do what I just told you, and simply put, people will follow it. If you are hard on people but also fair and you can back it up, people will follow you as a leader. I should say it's not hard to be a leader, but it's not hard to show the traits of a leader and just work really hard and set a good example. That's another root thing with encapsulating with Cam Ward's leadership, is that he is setting a good example. And when people see that, they want to replicate that. And then you add the competitiveness of football into it. Are you going to let someone outwork you? Are you going to let someone outwork you and say that they are better than you? Well, if you're a true athlete or just a true competitor, you're going to say, oh, heck no, it's on like Donkey Kong, and you're going to go out there and try and prove that person wrong, that you work hard, that you are better. And that's what makes sports so cool, is that it's that competitive nature, just pushing each other to get better and better because you guys really, really care and also want to prove that you're the best. And it's a great environment that Cam Ward has created in every stop he's been at, including Miami. And now he has the opportunity to redefine that in Tennessee. But now we move on to the player. And I want to break this up into two separate parts. We'll talk about the physical tools that he brings to the table, and then we'll talk about the mental game. The mental game I'm really excited to talk about. But starting with the physical tools, size-wise, Cam Ward is 6'2", 223. Not big. He's not small. He's about your average size. But the thing is, Cam Ward's got a very wide frame. He's got very broad shoulders, kind of like myself. And what this allows him to have with the wide frame is that his center of mass, he has more ability to move, if that makes sense. If you go and stand right now, your feet shoulder width apart and just move your body around, compared to someone who might be heavier or skinnier than you, their range of motion is going to be different, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's going to be different. And so Cam Ward, with his wide frame, he is able to shut off defenders a little bit easier because he's able to disperse the weight, if that makes sense. If someone comes to hit him, he's wide enough to where he can anchor his body down and shrug off somebody. In the play against Virginia Tech where he got hit, Virginia Tech player came right down on him. He shoved him off, and then he has two other defenders wrapped around him, and he just shovels the ball out to the tight end, and he runs it in for a touchdown. That play, probably the best play of the entire college football season, definitely of Cam Ward's career. That's a type of stuff that having a wide frame can get you. So even though he doesn't have elite size, like a Josh Allen, for example, he's got a wide enough frame and a good enough build in general to be able to stand in the pocket, take a shot, and shut off defenders if necessary. But going into the more meat and potatoes of the physical tools, we got to start with his arm talent. His arm talent's absolutely incredible. He may not have the biggest arm. I mean, he doesn't have an absolute bazooka, but he has more than enough juice to make all the throws on the field. Along with that, it's more of his velocity that people really get excited about Cam Ward and his arm strength. He can zip a football. It almost jumps out of his hands. His motion is fluid. It is quick. It is clean. And along with that, he has very good control over his arm strength too. Compared to young quarterbacks like Josh Allen coming into the league, or even like a Joe Milton at the University of Tennessee. I'm a Volunteers fan, so having an arm that's not really in control is very, very much familiar to me. With that last year with Joe Milton, Tennessee was not fantastic in that department. But compared to those other guys coming out of college, Cam Ward really has a good understanding of what his arm can do and what he needs to do with his arm. He understands that, okay, yeah, I got this 3-yard slant coming over the middle. That ball needs to be zipped out right then and there, right as the window begins to come open. But also he has the ability on a deep ball to just float it up and drop it right in a bucket and understand where exactly he needs to do, how much power he needs to put into it. He has a very good understanding of what his arm can do, which goes back to his self-awareness that he has. And so those two things married together, they worked hand in hand. Do they work hand in hand? I don't think that's the right word. But his understanding of his arm and what it can do is reflective of his self-awareness as a person. And along with that, everybody knows about all the arm angles. And everything in the NFL now, the quarterback is, oh, can you throw it from this angle? Can you do it like that? I know like NFL scouts are like not really like high on it. They're not like, oh yeah, he has a cannon arm, boot him up the draft board. You're not, going up draft boards because you can throw an arm, throw a football from like this angle or like this angle, right? But at the same time, it is a very valuable piece. And when you add on his ability to control his arm, it's a very deadly weapon in terms of being on the football field, where like I said, he's not going to be throwing bazooka. Like, he's not going to throw a ball 70 yards, which you won't in the NFL anyways. But he has the ability to get the ball out on time in short situations. He can just touch the ball over the top if you need him to. And if you have his defender right in his face, he has the ability to shift his arm out and retain a lot of that similar arm strength and reliability in his arm to make a play. And so he's a very deadly weapon in the pocket at his best, on his best days, where he will carve you up no matter what. He has all the positioning and he has the understanding of his arm to make any throw you need him to make. And we saw that in college over the past handful of years, even especially at Miami, of course. Along with his arm strength, though, comes with really good mobility. His mobility is similar to Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'm not comparing Cam Ward to Patrick Mahomes. No, not like that. But in terms of their mobility, they are very, very similar, if not almost entirely the same. They're both not burners. They're not going to outrun you like Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson, or Lamar Jackson, for example. But he has enough speed to, okay, if he needs to get to the sideline and get a first down, he can challenge a linebacker and probably outrace a linebacker. Is he outracing a defensive back? No. But at the same time, he's got enough speed where if he needs to run for a few extra yards, he can do that, and also has enough speed to run around and extend a play and buy more time for his offense or buy time for a receiver to come open, right? And it's just enough to where he needs to do what he needs to do to get the job done. And that's all you need. That's all you need. You don't need to have game-breaking speed. You don't need to run a 4-4 or a 4-3. If you can just move around in the pocket, roll out, and run for a few extra yards if you need to, that's perfectly fine. Just to keep the offense moving, keep the chains moving, stay on schedule. That's what you're looking for in a quarterback in terms of mobility, at least to me, philosophically. I like a quarterback that can run really fast, but it's not a deal breaker. Definitely, I like more about how they can move around in the pocket and just outside of the pocket behind the line of scrimmage. That's more important to me than someone who can, take a quarterback read and run 20 yards up the field, which is great, but it's not a necessary skill set to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. Moving on, we got to get to the mental game. The mental game for Cam Ward, honestly, is where I'm the most excited for who he is as a player. Because when I explain to you the mental ability, all the physical tools that people, they drool over, is just going to feel like a cherry on top. and not the focal point as to why he's being drafted. The first thing with mental ability I want to talk about with Cam is pre-snap. He constantly, if you look at tape or if you watch any Miami game, he is constantly calling for checks, calling for cans, which another word is audibles. He is shifting players, and he has all this control. He feels like, it looks like he is in full control of what is happening around him. And there's two things that tells me. He understands his offense, including his teammates, the scheme, what he's being asked to do, along with not just understanding what the play is, but the why of why this play is being called and why each route, for example, if it's a passing play, is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And so as a quarterback, when you have an understanding of your offense, you understand what you're trying to do, what works, what doesn't work, what works with your teammates, right? It gives you a lot more. How do I explain this? I apologize. My mind's kind of blanking here. But when you have full command of your offense, things become a lot easier and you begin to see things a lot better because you understand what's going on around you. You don't have to think about, okay, if this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. Because you're already doing that as a quarterback. You're already trying to read the defense and figure out what they're trying to do and how you're going to counter that. But if you can just understand what your receivers are going to do and why they're doing what they're doing it, that's less stuff you have to worry about. That's less things you have to focus on. And along with that, the thing with him understanding his offense, because he understands that, he's able to focus on what the defense is doing, and he has a great understanding of what defenses are trying to do to him. So you see him making adjustments. You see him making calls and checks at the line of scrimmage to put his team in a better position to succeed because he understands the offense, has full command of it, and that allows him to really focus on what defenses are trying to do to him and the offense, and he's able to make adjustments accordingly. And then you add on all the physical tools, and it's like, wow, he's the complete package. Now, is he actually the complete package? No, he has things in his game he has to fix. But the pre-snap stuff really gets me excited. And when you see a guy who looks so calm and collected like Cam Ward does, this is why. Because he works so hard that he has full command of his offense and he can understand what defenses are doing to him. Compared to other quarterbacks like him in his position coming out of college, I would argue that he is much further along, and that type of stuff suggests an easier curve when transitioning from college to the NFL. It's not going to be super steep, theoretically. It should be a little bit more of an easier transition for Cam. Now, that's obviously, that remains to be seen. We don't know what he's going to be in the NFL quite yet. He hasn't played us down yet. But the idea of it being a smaller curve is it's a very realistic thought where, okay, all this stuff he does pre-snap, he knows what's going on. He understands what he's looking at. And so that allows him to execute at a higher level. And along with that, talking more about his cool, calm, and collected nature, apparently in a game at Miami, they had heart rate monitors on their players. And it was a critical moment in the game. And quick disclaimer, I don't know where I got this information from. I say I don't know. I don't remember where I got the information from, but I heard it from somebody. It may have been Locked on Titans. The host, Tyler Rowland, does that over there. I listen to his show every day, so that's probably where I got it, if I'm being honest. So don't quote me on this 100%. But critical moment in this game at Miami, got the heart rate monitor on, and apparently the heart rate for Cam Ward was 80 BPM. That's resting heart rate for most people. Now, if my quarterback is sitting at 80 BPM on a critical moment in a game where he needs to execute and really win on that play, while he has tens of thousands of people screaming at him, and he knows that probably a defender or two is going to come right at him and probably lay a shot on him as he goes to throw the football, and his heart rate's 80 BPM, okay, Cam, I see you. That's also very rare for quarterbacks where they're just super chill. Now, obviously, I don't have I haven't seen heart rate monitor, numbers on other quarterback prospects drafted first overall and how they're feeling in certain situations. But seeing someone who's super calm, literally calm in a situation like that, tells me that no moment's too big for him. Nothing is going to be above him, and that's a really cool thing to see. And then jumping back to the last couple things with his mental game, going back kind of into the physical stuff, this might not be the best way to describe it, but pocket mobility, in the sense of Cam Ward having a great feel of what is going on around him. He doesn't need to see what's happening. It's almost like he has eyes in the back of his head, like a Josh Allen, like a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, where something happens in the pocket, he just feels it and reacts to it accordingly. He didn't even have to see it, he just knows it's there and he reacts. But along with that, he has great vision as well. He can see everything in the pocket. He knows where windows are going to be, throwing lanes are going to be open before they open. He has a great understanding of what he's looking at vision-wise as the play is breaking down and things are happening around him. And you add that with the great feel, he is always keeping his eyes downfield when he rolls out of the pocket. And that's what allows him to make the great plays that he does, is because of his physical instincts and knowing what's going on around him, and he can just instinctively just react accordingly. That allows him to focus on keeping the play alive and getting a first down, making a play. That's the cool part about Cam Ward, is that all the little instinct things that he has is just cherries on top. Because he does all the little things right. He does all the X's and O's stuff right and can execute it at a high level. All the physical tools are not even are at the forefront, and the instincts are not at the forefront, like I mentioned. So he's married the cool intangible traits that get any quarterback fan excited, get anybody, right, any football fan drafting a quarterback first overall excited. But he also has all the little things down pat, and you get a quarterback that looks like he knows everything. He's got eyes in the back of his head. He's cool, calm, collected, and nonchalant. All that is a result of Cam Ward and how hard he worked. And going back to bring that full circle, well, bam, there you go. Everything that Cam Ward has worked on to this point has gone to making himself a better football player. And when you get a person like Cam Ward as a person and you put him in a situation where he is like a quarterback, where he is a leader of the team, he understands full command of everything around him, wants to be in that situation, he wants to be the guy that people lean on, he wants to put the team on his back, and you have a prospect that very much I can understand why the Tennessee Titans decided that they were going to turn down 2 first-round picks and a couple day 2 picks from the New York Giants and decided to stay at number 1 and pick Cam Ward. Cam Ward was not the bona fide first overall pick for a long time, and it was obvious that Cam Ward would have to win over the Titans coaching staff, and he very much did that with everything I just told you about who he is as a person and who he is as a player and how those two things married each other into the football prospect that he is right now. But going more into the Tennessee Titans and Cam, what does he mean to the Tennessee Titans? Cam Ward has the chance to not just turn around a franchise desperate for a true franchise quarterback for the first time in over 20 years, but he's a guy that now can really establish a culture in Tennessee and an identity, which both are non-existent right now. Tennessee's coming off of a first-year head coach, Brian Callahan, in 3-14. There is no culture here. There is no identity here yet. All of that was gone. Mike Vrabel is gone. Derrick Henry is gone. Ryan Tannehill is gone. Almost all the important people in Tennessee, whether it's coach or player, are gone. And not to mention, when you have the quarterback position solved, everything else solves itself. The 3 things that every great organization has is great quarterback, great coaching, great front office. If you have those 3 things, if you have that 3-legged stool, then everything else solves itself. But if you are missing one of those 2 things, you're not going to win very many games. You're not going to be a sustainable, long-time winning franchise. You might have a couple winning seasons here and there, but it's not going to last forever. And the top teams in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, even if you want to go there, I go there, of course. They are one of the best teams in the NFL. They should be considered that until they aren't. But those 3 teams, for example, all have 3 things in common. They have great coaching, got a great quarterback, and got a great front office. There you go. If you have those 3 things, you're going to be a sustainable winning franchise. And Tennessee, with Cam Ward, now has that pillar solved, theoretically. And his ceiling, in the future, if he hits, I think Cam Ward can be a top 10 quarterback. Top 5, probably at the absolute max if he becomes a superstar. I'm not going to bank on that. I hope that happens, but I'm not going to expect it. Realistically, Sure, like the first couple years, he's probably going to be an above average quarterback in the NFL. And then as he gets later on into his career, sure, he can step into that top 10 role and be an elevator of his team. But there has to be some realistic expectations here for Cam, which I want to go on record before I jump into this. I want to be on record again for saying that I've wanted Cam Ward since week 6 of 2024. Week 6 of 2024 is as long as I've wanted Cam Ward to be on this team. After I saw Will Levis stink up the bed after coming off of the bye week, got hurt in the Miami game a couple weeks before that, I was done. I was out. And with Will Levis, I was never really happy about the pick when it happened. And admittedly, I was excited for Will Levis going into 2024 because of all the stuff they put around him at the time. And I thought that things would be different and things would get better and improve. Well, they didn't. They went even further backwards, and the team was already headed in that direction. And so Will Levis, also a second-round pick, doesn't have a lot of investment in that area where if you're drafting a quarterback in the second round, you're probably just swinging at the fence hoping that somebody hits and you get good value. If you're drafting someone first overall in the draft or even top 5 in the draft or even top 10, you're expecting that player to be a cornerstone of your franchise. You are giving them the keys to the car and saying, here you go. We are going to develop you. We believe in you. And here you go. Have fun. So Cam Ward is in that position now. He's going to get that opportunity. But Cam Ward is going to struggle. I'm not saying I think he will struggle. I don't think he will struggle. No, I guarantee you. I'm not known for bold takes, but here's a bold take for you. Cam Ward is going to struggle in Tennessee in his rookie year. He is going at the first quarter of the season, first half of the season. He's probably not going to look very great. He's probably going to be average at best, barring something absolutely insane. I can guarantee you that Cam Ward is going to struggle his first half of the year in the NFL. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to throw picks. He's going to have bad throws. He's going to take bad sacks. I expect him to take a ton of sacks. A lot of bad sacks that are on him as well. Be prepared for that. I fully expect it to happen because the NFL is faster. It is quicker. They are smarter. They rolling out of the pocket in the NFL, windows will close. Players will come down on you. That stuff happens much quicker in the NFL for obvious reasons, and there's going to be a lot of things he got away with in college he's not going to get away with in the pros. And so it's going to be really hard for him to learn. Well, I shouldn't say hard. That's a negative connotation, but it's going to be challenging for him to adjust to that and kind of relearn what it means to play quarterback. Because the NFL is such a different ball game. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to rewire and refix because there's just things that you cannot get away with in the NFL that he did in college. But continuing on, he's going to look even rattled at points, I think, because of all the bad sacks, because of the mistakes. And a quarterback that was so calm and collected in college is probably going to see his heart rate bump up to 120, 130, where, okay, I might be sweating bullets a little bit. I don't know what this defense looks like. I don't know what's going to happen. At least I know what my offense is going to do. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens. But all that to say is, quarterbacks don't come in and light the world on fire like C.J. Stroud or Jaden Daniels. Those are exceptions, not the rules. And also, if you look at the previous two first overall picks, Bryce Young, he sucked as a rookie. He was horrible. And then Caleb Williams had some games where he looked good, but for most of the year, looked average at best, awful at worst. Remember, Caleb Williams, they were hyping this guy up for months upon months upon months, saying the Bears are going to make the playoffs, they have a loaded roster, and then week 1, coincidentally enough, against the Titans, he did not even throw for 100 yards in his first NFL start. The generational quarterback that everyone thought would light the world on fire like C.J. Stroud didn't even throw 100 yards in his first start. And then Jaden Daniels, the second overall pick, was the one that ended up lighting the world on fire and going to the playoffs and eventually making the NFC Championship game. Not Caleb Williams. So there's currently a trend of, sure, the past couple years, there's been a rookie quarterback to reinvigorate their franchise and light the world on fire. But also, the 2 first overall pick quarterbacks absolutely underwhelmed to a very big degree. So for Cam Ward, he's got to try to not be Bryce Young or Caleb Williams as a rookie, but he's not going to be C.J. Stroud or Jaden Daniels. I'm hoping that it's going to be somewhere in the middle. He's probably going to struggle a little bit, and as the year goes on, the Titans are going to get better. He's going to get better, And then throughout the year, he's gonna show some really good flashes. Maybe have a couple comeback wins in there. Maybe one or two dominant performances where he looks like the guy and can really dominate the NFL for a long time. That's all you want from Cam Ward. That's all I want from Cam Ward. I just want him to learn from his mistakes, grow throughout the year, and make sure and see that by week 18, this is not the same quarterback that came in here and started week 1. That's all you want to see. I just want to see average, good play, and see growth. That's all you need. If you can do that, I think Tennessee would have a massive success there for their franchise and where they are and just building in that right direction. They don't need to go and win a whole bunch of games. They don't need to all of a sudden flip everything. They just need to show growth. They just need to show growth and a positive step forward in which Tennessee, I think they'll win 7 games, 8 wins max in 2025. And if they were to win 7 games, I think that would be a very good step in the right direction. And so moving on to more of the entire team to wrap it all up, the Titans are still a bad football team. Cam Ward is not exactly going into a situation that's favorable. While the Titans have done a very good job in building around Cam Ward, not just giving him talent to build around, giving him talent that can help him win now and do well, like Tyler Lockett, or adding 3 receivers like Chim DK, Alec Iomanner, and then Xavier Restrepo, his former teammate in Miami. But at the same time, they're adding players that do things well that Cam Ward also does well, which I really like. And their process overall for building around Cam Ward and adding to their offensive line as well is really good. But at the same time, this offensive line the first half of the year, I will tell you right now, despite all the resources they've invested into it, this offensive line the first half of the year is probably still going to suck. Is it going to be as bad as last year? I would hope not. But at the same time, Dan Moore is an average tackle, and he's going to be in a new offense. And then, that's it. Sorry. Peter Skoronski, left guard. He is going to be good. Lloyd Cushenberry, who knows how good he's going to be. He's coming off of a torn Achilles, and players coming off of a torn Achilles that first year usually are not themselves. It takes a while to really get back up to speed. And then you have Kevin Zeitler, who's a right guard, new player, and sure, best pass-blocking guard in the NFL, arguably last year, but he's 35, and players in their 30s could fall off a cliff at any point in time. And then J.C. Latham, who was a left tackle for Tennessee as a rookie, is switching back to his college position, right tackle, but you have 3 new starters on the offensive line, and one coming off of an injury, and you add on that offensive lines take time to gel together, it's going to there's going to be some growing pains with this offense, along with the fact that the only good wide receiver on this team is Calvin Ridley. Yes, the team added Tyler Lockett. I don't trust that. Say what you want about, DeAndre Hopkins broke the curse of veteran receivers doing nothing in Tennessee. Well, one player doesn't change the fact that outside of him, every other veteran receiver to come in here has absolutely done next to nothing. And so while I expect Tyler Lockett to probably do a little bit more than that because of his durability, I'm not going to hold out any hope for it. If it happens, great. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to be surprised. And so, like I said, this team is an 8-win team max. And if they were to win 7 games, that would be a good step in a positive direction for the franchise. But not to mention, this franchise is still a dysfunctional organization. They're coming off of firing a GM, firing a head coach, firing a GM, all in the span of 3 years. That is dysfunction. And until this team actually makes the steps forward and becomes a sustainable winning franchise again, then this organization is still dysfunctional. If you're an addict and you go to rehab, you are not better because you went to rehab. No, you have to go to rehab and actually remain sober for a decent amount of time, and then you can say, all right, I made myself better. It's like you can't say like you can ride a bike if you're learning how to ride a bike and you still have training wheels on. You can't say that you know how to walk or you know how to run if you're still learning how to catch your balance and actually move at a speed where you won't fall down and bust your face. So even though they're doing all the right processes to get better and improve their organization and their team, it doesn't mean that they are better yet. Can they still get there? Yes, of course. There's plenty of room to grow with this team, but they're not there yet. So please be realistic about Cam Ward and who he's going to be as a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to struggle. But with everything that I talked about, with who he is as a person and who he is as a talent, I think that he has a real opportunity to redefine the Tennessee Titans, bring in a new era of Tennessee Titans football, and give the Titans what they have been missing for over 20 years. But with that being said, that is going to do it for me, talking about why I'm excited for Cam Ward. And one little quick tidbit before I go with you guys, not related to the video content itself, but I recorded this video once already, and this is why it's coming out on Thursday instead of earlier in the week. I recorded it. It was 50 minutes long, and I decided I was going to split it into 3 parts. And then the first part was so bad, I was like, I cannot post this, upload it online. It's not good enough. And so I decided to come back here and re-record it. And here we are. I don't know how long this one is. It's probably, I hope it's not close to 50 minutes. If it is, I'm going to be really upset. But until then, we will figure it out in post-production. But for now, that is going to do it for me for this video, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you've made it this far, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe button, as it helps the channel out tremendously, as we're trying to hit 100 subscribers before the NFL season kicks off in September. So please hit those 2 buttons. It's free, and if it's free, it's for me. You know what I'm saying? Also, make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you think Cam Ward is going to perform as a rookie? Do you think that he's going to be bad? Do you think he is going to be a CJ Stroud or Jaden Daniels or something in the middle? Please let me know. Along with that, make sure to follow me on social media and share this video on social media, whether it's by word of mouth or by Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, anything, or shoot YouTube Shorts. That works as well. So make sure to share my video everywhere, getting everybody locked in and locked on to the Shoemake Take podcast, coming up with great content for you guys every single week. But for now, that will do it, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. Y'all have a good one, and as always, I will see you all next time.